All right, thank you. It's 6:01, and we will call the meeting to order. City Manager Weston, roll call, please.
Councilor Olson. Here. Councilor Tyso.
Here.
Councilor Wallington.
Here.
Councilor Gelfand.
Here.
Councilor Choli is not here yet. And President no.
Here. Okay, we'll move on here to the approval of the minutes. We have the May 20, 2024 Budget Committee minutes. Anyone have anything on that?
Just something new to the council. Just so I understand, there are 5 councilors present and only 4 of them voted. And then I tried to look on the budget committee and our website. I know we're busy, but it was out of date. I couldn't tell who was on the budget committee.
Yeah, I'm opening it up right. So on the budget committee, we had President Manella, Mayor Thompson, Commissioner Gaylor, Councilor Tyso, Councilor Gelfand was president but couldn't vote, and then Councilor Choli, president, couldn't vote, if I recall correctly, because of the timing.
Yeah, they weren't sworn in yet.
1, 2, 3, 4 members present.
Okay, thank you.
And then for the record too, Councilor Choli.
Oh, all right.
No worries. Thanks.
I move to approve the. Oh.
Everyone, go ahead. And we can.
I move to approve the budget committee meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, let's do roll call.
Councilor Chili. Or should we just, you want to just call it?
For the May 20, 2024 Budget Committee minutes.
Yeah. Councilor Olson.
Again, I was new. I was appointed on the 15th, so is it appropriate for me to vote on that?
If you watch the show, if you watch the show. If you had an opportunity to watch the YouTube video or read the minutes, I believe that.
Well, full disclosure, I watched part of it.
Okay. You may want to just abstain.
Okay.
President Manella?
Yes.
Councilor Tyson?
Yes.
Councilor Wall?
Yes.
Councilor Gelfand?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Can we please silence phones? Thank you. Okay, moving on. 2B for the May 15, 2024 regular City Council meeting minutes. Anyone have any questions? We're able to read through it.
Regarding the May minutes, hopefully we'll get caught up in the June and July minutes.
Yeah, and I think it's been said before too, right? We know why things like a little bit behind, and then everything is on YouTube, right? So you can go back and view. Anyone can do that anytime.
Isn't it in our charter that we're supposed to do it in that following month?
Yeah, but I think legal counsel in the past has said with everything being loaded up onto YouTube and being accessible to anyone in the public, then that's been sufficient. So. Anything else? All right, do we have a motion?
Move to approve, May 15th, council minutes.
Is there a second? Second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Gelfen. Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Tyso.
Yes.
President Manel.
Yes.
Counselor Olson. Counselor Chili.
All right, and then the last minutes, we have the May 13, 2024 work session minutes. Any questions on this one, or anyone have any corrections or anything? All right, hearing none, can I have a motion for the May 13, 2024 work session minutes? Okay.
I'll second what you said.
All right. Thank you.
I apologize.
Chief had a motion and he seconded. Roll call.
Okay.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Tyso.
Yes.
President Manel.
Yes.
Counselor Olson.
Okay.
Counselor Chili.
Yes.
Carries.
All right, thank you. Number 3 on the agenda, special presentation. There is none tonight. And move on to number 4. We have open forum. All right. So, open forum is intended to ensure the community has an opportunity to provide input for items being considered on the agenda or make suggestions for future agendas. At this time, the council will be happy to receive your comments pertaining to items on the agenda, with the exception of public hearings for which testimony will be received and conducted in the proper form and manner at the time of the hearing. Each person's time will be limited to 3 minutes. Public comment and testimony may be presented in person or via Zoom. You may submit written public comments electronically on the city website or via email to the King City Recorder. All electronic comments must be submitted before noon on the day of the meeting. All right, do we have any, should we go online first, Ronnie? Is there anyone on? Yes, on that one, okay. All right, Don. Thank you for coming online to give some comments.
Okay,
Your
great.
name and your address. And, oh, good. There we can hear you. Name and
Okay,
address, and then we will start your time.
Thank you. Don Mobley, 17030 Southwest 137th, Tigard 97224. All right, so my comment tonight is due to that I was in attendance at the last meeting, as I usually am, July 17th of 2024. And I'd just like to share my experience during the public comment open forum, as I'd hope to encourage the council to conduct future open forums with consistency and fairness. As stated on the agenda, and how you all, you just read as well, that the open forum time is, limited to 3 minutes, and it should be pertaining to items on the agenda. And I myself have been held to these rules at previous open forums. As I've been told in the past, that is based on Robert's Rules of Order guidelines, and the public comment period is not a time for dialogue. And the purpose of the public comment period is for the board to receive input from the community and isn't a back and forth exchange. So at the last meeting, Heather Wakim, I don't believe I'm saying the last name correctly, but I believe it's spelled W-A-I-K-I-M, was allowed to speak for much longer than 3 minutes about her nonprofit special event during the open forum on a topic that was not on the agenda. There was extensive discussion between her, the city council, and Mike Weston on the topic that she brought up. Peter Watts made a suggestion for what city council should do at about 10 minutes into Heather's time. The city council made a decision on this topic that was, again, not on the agenda. The total time that this discussion took was about 14 minutes. During this time, no one brought up the open forum 3-minute limitation, and Heather was taking far more than 3 minutes. I don't object to the topic that Heather brought up. I think that the city supporting a special event for Shakespeare in the Park is a pretty good idea. But what I do object to is that the city not treating everyone in open forum under the same rules. The 3-minute rule has been enforced in the past, and people have been told to limit their comments to what is on the agenda. So I ask, how do you justify allowing one individual excessive time to speak at length and to have a decision, including the city manager and city legal counsel, to obtain swift execution of a council decision of a non-agenda item, but not allowing anyone else equal treatment? That this is not a fair treatment of your constituents, and the council is that the council is supposed to represent. So I just ask that you guys do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online? Right? You give them those 30 seconds, or was Don the only one online? Right, then we'll move to everyone that's in here. Anyone have public comments that they would like to make? Okay.
My name is Gary Woods. I live at 13538 Southwest Fisher Road. And tonight I see in the agenda that you're going to be discussing the 2024 legislative priorities. And I would like to suggest a priority for you also to consider for tonight. You might remember there was a recall on February the 13th this year, 6 months ago, and the people of King City are waiting to find out the City Council's response to the recall. Because the recall was basically about the community not being satisfied with the TSP that the city passed. The community has made their views clear, and yet the City Council moved forward with the plan. The two biggest things that the community have been concerned about are running traffic through Edgewater neighborhood and the Nature Conservancy. And these issues haven't been addressed, and we're waiting to hear from the City Council for 6 months. Our city manager has said that this is finished. Our city manager, city planner, and city attorney are not elected by the people. And as I look at all of you sitting here, you all are sitting here because of the recall, except for, except for Smart. You either spared from being recalled because we believed you would finally work with the community to make the changes to the TSP, or you were appointed to fill a vacancy. The people are waiting, and meet people all the time walking around the city asking what's the city's response to the recall, and I have to reply, they're ignoring it and moving on. I just think it's time for transparency and honest dialogue. We're a small city, we're all neighbors. Smart lives two doors down from me. Randy lives right behind me. We're all neighbors, and that we ought to be able to talk together. City manager has declared that it's over, but I wonder what happened to, they're just lines on a map, and that we ought to be able to talk. And so we're waiting for a response from the city to the recall. So that's all I wanted to share tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay. And I think there was one over here. Okay.
Go, sir. Sandra Cunningham, 12380 Southwest King George Drive. It is in my humble opinion that the Kingston Terrace is a piece of property that is not a natural flow to King City from Edgewater or KCCA. It just doesn't flow naturally, which is why you are forcing this. This property is aligned with Sherwood, a town that already has the infrastructure to support the building. This is why it's my opinion that this is why you're trying to force the project. Building roads that we don't need, adding resources to our city overhead that we don't need.
Is this something that's an agenda item that you're talking about, or is it?
Oh, it's my opinion, my public comment.
Okay, so in the open forum, we're talking about items that are currently on the agenda, or something you want to put, a suggestion to put on the agenda.
It's a suggestion at the end, if you'll let me finish. I have a suggestion at the end. I just had a few things to say to start it. You're putting 4,000 cars on the KCCA streets that are in great disrepair, turning those same streets into feeder streets. The volume of traffic in King City will cause our property values to drop significantly. You're also planning to move resources away from us. I believe you're discriminating against a population of older people with these moves, taking money out of our pockets with increased overhead at the city and taking our life savings from the equity of our homes. We don't need Kingston Terrace. We need our resources to stay in our current city. If you put the resources you're spending on Kingston toward the current city, it would be a beautiful small town. Put those resources to use to improve our city rather than taking them from us. My question has told on an OPB radio interview that it was an understanding about one road, and it is not. So finally, I respectfully ask you to put this project on the agenda for the next meeting, discuss, proceed, and potentially vote on whether to proceed. Let's find out where everyone stands. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dee Berkey, and I live at 12375 Southwest King George Drive. I oppose any road going through any part of the wildlife refuge. I am sure there could be an alternative route. Metro takes in 24 cities and decides what they want to do with land between the cities and rural, undeveloped areas. Sherwood is not one of those cities. For logistical purposes, the minor land partition application, which legally separates Al's Home and Garden.
Excuse me, sorry. Is this an item that's on the agenda?
I don't know what your agenda is.
Okay, so, Kingston Terrace has already been passed, everything is.
So I'd like to read this
And-
anyway. It took 5 people to pass and annex a portion of Sherwood so they could have their development.
I'm not sure what.
No, because you didn't let me finish reading this. For logistical purposes, the minor land partition application, which legally separates Al's Home and Garden, which is in Sherwood, from the rest of the application and voted on first. This vote to legally separate Al's Home and Garden first, your vote to legally separate from the adjacent tax lot and the development proposal passed unanimously by 5-0. Does it take just 5 people to annex property from the city of Sherwood? That is why there was a recall. Now others have been appointed to vote in making decisions. They have not been voted in. The town center development was then voted on and passed unanimously by 5 people. I guess 5 people can have a lot of power.
Thank you. Is there any other?
My name is Dan Simpson. I live at 13644 Southwest Fisher Road here in King City. And my issue is I'd like to have something, suggest an item for a future meeting. And it is, how is City Council going to deal with the recall vote? And I think that apparent from the recall vote, it was overwhelmingly yes, and there's nothing that outwardly has been done so that the citizenry are aware of that. And I guess I'd have to say that I'm disappointed, but it's been 6 months since the recall, and this hasn't been done yet, and I'd like to have it addressed at a future city council meeting.
Okay, we'll take that as a...
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Samantha Sheldon, and I live at 15625 Queen Victoria Place. I've been here 10 years now. It's hard to believe. I knew nothing about this area when I came here, but I learned a lot when I stopped at a red light in front of, I was going down 99, and I was in front of Home Depot, and I looked to my right, and there is a mother deer with her fawn looking in the window of a building, trying to figure out what in the heck that was. So now, this development that is here, as I understand it, wants to take part of the easement that's been designated for these beings, these animals that deserve to live and multiply as well as we do. And so I understand that a lot of people are concerned about this in King City, but it's not being addressed. And there's a lot of people that are against the taking of lands that have been designated for the wetlands, for the wildlife, and I would like to see the council address this directly and honor the lives of these creatures. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
I'm Leanne Harvey. I live at 15660 Southwest Royalty Parkway, and yes, that is the street that, like, drag racing goes on periodically. And what I wanted to bring down was the same thing that I think all the other people have, that we're really concerned about where our city's going. And some of the things on the agenda, I'm sorry, I'm probably not going to cover those. I don't know what's on the agenda, but I just did want to voice my opinion that I agree with everybody that stood before me with what they've had to say. And I thought, instead of repeating it and saying it a different way, I'm just going to say I agree with them, and the wildlife really is important, and the water and the way people take over the land is it's sad, and we need to be a bit more considerate and less selfish. And that's pretty much everybody, I think, has covered everything else that's been said.
Thank you. You'll be next.
Don't really, my name's Debbie Walk, 14120 Southwest River Lane. And mine's a statement to the council. This whole thing is full of comments, letters, and from all of the community. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of statements and letters, and we have no representation. Here are the letters for the Fisher Road extension. I think I can count them on one hand. I couldn't even put them in a binder. I think we have like 10 if I really stretch it. And this is the community, and it's full. And I just want to know who represents them if it's not you. And that's it. And I give my minutes to whoever might want it.
It's going to come out through the best of times, so nobody breathe.
My name is Carla Bankston, 16385 Southwest Middle Avenue, Tigard. And I have to say, I don't really want, oh, I'm so sorry. This is a mic? It has a,
Yeah, that's
it has a,
online.
yeah, it has a line through it. Does that mean it's off?
Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry, I'm not technological. I have to say, like, I really don't want to be here tonight. I don't feel welcome to stand here anymore. I don't think that myself or my concerns are desired or valued by much of the government of King City. I can't believe that belittling and gaslighting your own future citizens is sending a positive message to current or future residents about your policies and priorities. Someday, I'll likely become a resident of King City. As its leaders, is it your plan that I will feel like I have to live here where I don't feel welcome? Or will I get to live somewhere where I'm a valued member of the community? I'd like to propose future agenda items on how the wounds between the city and the current and future residents can be healed. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? I think that was all the hands that I... Okay, we'll go ahead and close public or the open forum. Moving on to unfinished business, which there is none. And we have new business, and I believe Council Olson, you have something to add for new business?
Oh. Well, I think the council's aware for a couple months now, I proposed a resolution. When I first proposed it, I thought it was rather radical. But after hearing some of the comments tonight, it might be insufficient.
I'm gonna add it. We can add it.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I would like to add it.
Okay, we'll add it. We'll add Councilor Olson's proposed resolution to the end of new business. Is there a motion for that?
Do I make a motion?
Yeah, you can make a motion.
I move to consider the resolution as part of tonight's new business.
Okay, we have a second? A second, hearing none?
Let's give him a second. To just consider the resolution?
No second? Okay. Resolution proposal to add to the agenda doesn't pass with no second.
Well, I'll just say I am really shocked.
All right, moving on. New business A, we have May 2024 financials. We have, I think, Mike. It looks like Don is still promoted.
Well, it's not over.
So we,
Hello? Hello?
hey, Mira.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. So so here's the May 2024 financial statement summary. So for May 2024, we reconciled all three bank reconciliation, all done. So one is for US Bank and one is for the LGIP state pool account. And then we still have the Umpqua Bank in May, and in June, end of June, we closed the Umpqua Bank and moved everything to the US Bank. So there's no errors in recording transactions. Everything's paid, all payroll liabilities being paid timely. So the highlights is in general fund. As you can see, the in general fund as of the end of the month, May 31st, the revenue for current year is 6% more than what we budgeted. So you can see on the revenue side, we receive more revenue than we budgeted. And in the expenditure side, we spend less than we budgeted, which means the city financials in very good shape. As we mentioned before, and because the interest rate is 5.2%, so we keep receiving more interest than we budgeted. And just let you guys know, in May, we received almost $23,000 in interest in the state pool account because our balance pretty high, you know. So with the 5.2% interest, so we have almost like $23,000 interest.
So Mira, can I just interject just a little bit? I kind of want to explain what all transpired in the month of May and why our bottom line. We received a new home development in May, and so with that, of course, comes large building permits for the new home company, over $200,000 in permitting fees alone. The system development charges that'll accompany that have not been realized yet, but they should be realized over the next year. When we issue the actual building permits and on-the-ground work, we'll see that revenue start coming in. Additional revenue sources from Habitat for Humanity rolled in at about $400,000 for the Habitat for Humanity fee, and then Summa Homes has been rolling in over the last few months, so that's not in here. But what you see in here is mostly the $200,000 from New Home and the $400,000 in change from Habitat for Humanity. And then we'll also see Summa Homes rolling in, Ponderosa Pines, and then all the New Home SDC and building permit fees will all start rolling in over the next couple months. So that's why our budget for this next fiscal year has more than doubled, if not tripled, for this next one. Go ahead, Mira, sorry.
I think, Mira, are you still on?
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm here. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's all, pretty much all. So anybody have questions for each fund? So I highlighted numbers. It's for the supplemental budget and transfer budget we made. That's the highlighted number. And
Anyone have any questions for me?
Yeah, I have a question real quick.
Go ahead.
This is Gary Wallison. Where did the extra revenue that comes in, where do we put that?
Goes into our local government investment pool account.
Okay.
And it sits in there, and that's where we garner that interest from that account.
yes,
But it's allocated per fund. So for each money that comes in, it goes to that particular fund. So if it's building and planning revenue, it goes under the building and planning department.
Okay.
And street funds go under street fund, park SDCs and park funds go under the park fund. But it all kind of sits in one pot over at.
I understand, but it's allocated in that pot, like it's not just some rainy day fund because we made some extra dough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Councilor Wallison, anyone else have any questions? All right, do we have a motion to approve the May 2024 financials?
Move.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank Thank you, Mira.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the Ride Connection presentation, Washington County IGA. Max, this one's yours.
Well, I'd like to introduce Reza Farhudi and John Whitman from Washington County Ride Connection. As you recall, a couple months ago, I gave a little bit of a rundown. They've been partnering with the city for a number of years to provide free shuttle services to the folks, mostly in the KCCA neighborhood, and through some discretionary funds, they've been able to projects throughout the county, including in King City. And so what they're presenting today is an IGA that county has put together, and that kind of gives into the framework of what this agreement will be, what the improvements are supposed to be, who the responsibilities are going to. I've reviewed the IGA, and so has Mr. Watts, and we see nothing in it that could cause an issue down the road. It's pretty straightforward, and so with that being said, I'll leave it over to our staff.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, members of City Council. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Reza Farhudi. I'm a Senior Planner of Washington County, and we're here to talk about the new Ride Connection King City to Tualatin Shuttle, as well as the Stops Enhancement Project. Yeah, okay. All right, next slide. So again, my name is Reza Farhudi. I'm here with John Whitman. He's a planning supervisor with Ride Connection. Next slide. So just to give you an overview of what we're going to talk about, we'll discuss the county's transit development plan and also give you an overview of the services that Ride Connection offers. We'll discuss the new King City to Tualatin Shuttle that will be launching later this summer. We'll also discuss the shuttle stop enhancement project that's being coordinated with the shuttle launch that Max mentioned, and the IGA that's attached to that. We'll do a brief Q&A, and then hopefully we can get to the approval of the IGA. Right. So Washington County, every 2 years, the state to submit a transit development plan. We're responsible for any transit service that's outside of the TriMet and SMART districts. You see that in the green. We also help facilitate the interregional connections, so service from Tillamook County and Yamhill County that come into the TriMet district in blue. We help facilitate those. We also help operate the community connectors, and these are the first last mile shuttles that are in Washington County within the TriMet district, and they help serve areas of the TriMet district that aren't well served by their system. So the closest example we have here is the Tualatin Shuttle buses that operate in that city. Go ahead. So just want to give a heads up. So again, every 2 years we update this plan. We're currently in that process now. We have an online open house scheduled throughout the month of August through September 6th. We're speaking to the public about what their priorities are for improvements during the next biennium. And some of the examples here you can see are maintaining and enhancing those first and last mile community connector and job services. The door-to-door services that Ride Connection provides for both general purpose and medical trips, and John will provide more information on that. Again, improving amenities and accessibility at our shuttle bus stops is very important to us, and then developing seamless transit trips across regions. So for folks who are trying to get to the coast or down the Willamette Valley, helping making those connections work better as well. Next slide. So we contract with Ride Connection. They're a private nonprofit organization. They operate our services. They help leverage a variety of funding sources, private, local, federal, and state, to help operate these routes. They also take the lead on engaging with community organizations and other business groups and other organizations to help make the partnerships work in order to be able to provide the service. Next slide. Now I'll get to John, pass it over to him, and he'll talk more about what Ride Connection provides.
Thank you, Reza. So Ride Connection is a private nonprofit organization that has a 35-year history of providing transportation options to older adults, people with disabilities, low-income communities, and the general public. We've been very active in King City for most of that history. While we are based in Portland, we do have a Tualatin King City office, You'll notice actually across the street, we have vehicles parked at the King City Civic Association, and we operated the King City Rideabout shuttle since 2004. Next slide, please. As Reza mentioned, we operate a number of these community connector first last mile shuttles throughout Washington County. And these were really started to address service gaps in the TriMet transit network, where TriMet didn't have the ridership or market to justify a transit line, but where public transit was clearly needed. So we have service in Forest Grove, in North Plains and Banks, a new service in Cornelius, employment shuttle in North Hillsborough, employment and community shuttles in Tualatin, and we'll soon be folding that King City Rideabout shuttle into this family of community connectors and expanding service and providing a more robust public transit option. And I'll go through the rest of what we do in Washington County quickly, and then in King City specifically. We manage a volunteer driver program to support more of those door-to-door options for older adults and people with disabilities. We provide shared vehicles with other nonprofit organizations and government agencies. When our buses and wheelchair-accessible minivans are out of use, we still like to see them utilized and find that it's a good opportunity for other organizations to provide transportation to their constituents. Any older adult or person with disability in Washington County can request door-to-door service through Ride Connection. They need to request that 4 days in advance, but we take any number of trip requests, whether it's a trip to a doctor's office or medical visit, shopping, recreation, personal business. And lastly, we offer our Ride Together program. We offer mileage reimbursement at the federal level to friends, family members, neighbors who are transporting their older neighbor or neighbor who has a disability around the community. Next slide, please. Looking at the shuttle specifically, but I think this relates to a number of the transportation options that we provide. We feel they offer a number of impacts and benefits to the community. Overall, enhancing quality of life by providing transportation options to people who otherwise wouldn't have them, opening up jobs, healthcare, shopping, and other services, especially for older adults and people with disabilities who don't have a car or can't drive. We also offer transportation options. Our shuttles are open to students and youth as well. We acknowledge that the yellow bus service doesn't meet all the transportation needs, especially high school age students who might be working a job after school or participating in after school activities. And so we enjoy the high usage on those services that are open to the public by students and youth. We see these as a safe transportation option during inclement weather, especially some of the extreme heat, cold or snow that we've increasingly been seeing. And lastly, these services coordinate with other transit providers to provide connections to the regional transit services. We open up the TriMet network, the SMART network, Point Intercity Bus, Yamhill County Transit, to more riders by providing that first and last mile option. Next slide, please. We have operated the King City Rideabout shuttle in King City since 2004, and it's remained largely unchanged since 2004. We've historically received funding through TriMet's general fund to operate the service. That funding has remained flat, so there hasn't really been opportunity to expand the service. And it largely operates as a shopping circulator, circulating throughout neighborhoods of King City and bringing people to King City Plaza, Safeway, the Durham Road Plaza, with about 4 round trips per day, Wednesday through Friday. So it's not a frequent service, and it's not offered every day. Next slide, please.
Next. That's a quick question.
Absolutely.
So does that stop wherever, like somebody waves it down, do they just stop, or is there stops, designated stops, pickup points? What's currently happening?
It currently operates mostly as this flag stop services. You'll notice a few identified stops, like especially the shopping destinations on the map. But customers can flag the bus down anywhere on the route. They can also request deviations by calling into Ride Connection. especially if someone needs a pickup from their door for accessibility to the service. If they call in advance, we can offer that deviation.
Thanks.
We have new funds coming in through our partnership with Washington County, and we're using a blend of funds, transportation funds for older adults and people with disabilities, and these regional coordination funds that are for really filling transit gaps in TriMet's network, and are going to be able to offer a much more robust public transportation option for King City and the surrounding communities. The launch date has been pushed back a few weeks. It's looking more like mid-September, but do imagine this will be out there in the community soon. It will continue circulating through King City and those shopping plazas, and will do so more frequently Monday through Friday. But we're also opening up access. We'll be routing on Durham Road, passing Tigard High School, stopping at Bridgeport Village, Tualatin Park and Ride, and ultimately ending up at downtown Tualatin, which will also open up connections to TriMet, West Commuter Rail, and other bus service, as well as interregional coordinations to Yamhill County, SMART, Cascades Point. On the next slide, you will see an image of the new route. It will be offered from about 6:30 in the morning to about 8 in the evening, Monday through Friday, so a much wider span of service at about 45-minute frequency, which is much better than what's currently offered. In addition, we're hoping to put in signage and some stop infrastructure, and Reza will cover that in a few minutes at some of these stops, primarily to make them more accessible and visible for the community. We really want to professionalize the service.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
I know we're doing legislative a little bit later. Is that part of that House Bill 2017
Yes.
transit package?
Yes, these funds come from the statewide transportation improvement funds, which is generated through the employee payroll tax put into legislation by HB 2017. And you can go ahead to the next slide. I'm going to pass it back to Rick.
One quick question. So access from King City to Tigard High School, I know it's probably because it's on Durham. All of our students here feed into Tualatin High School. I don't think it was meant to transport kids to school, but it's probably not an option to do, but something maybe to put in the back here. Yeah.
Interesting how the boundaries are drawn.
Yeah, this whole Bull Mountain down, we all funnel into Tualatin High School, even though Tigard is a 5-minute drive.
That is good to know, and hopefully this at least opens up a transfer to TriMet for those students. Unfortunately, it's not a one-seat.
Yeah.
It's Tualatin High School.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll provide a little more context on the funding. So we actually get funding from two separate pots. So the employee payroll tax that's generated in the rural area, so that area in the green from that first map that we showed, that goes directly to the rural services that people provide, and any of the community connectors that we operate or Ride Connection operates, they actually come from an allocation of TriMet's payroll tax receipts, because it's being operated within the TriMet district. So just to provide a little more context to exactly the funding it's coming from. So one of the things that we wanted to do, or what we heard during the transit development plan process, is that folks don't necessarily know about the service. It's not advertised real well, and a part of that was either a lack of signage or inadequate signage. And so we really wanted to prioritize making these improvements to our shuttle stops to, like John said, professionalize the service and make sure people are aware of it. So we've gone after, so as part of the STIF program, they have a discretionary grant program as well. So we've actually applied twice now for grants. We finished the first phase of improvements last year, and this is for countywide, all like Forest Grove, Hillsborough, other communities that are served by our community connectors. So the second grant we're working on right now with King City, with other jurisdictions, and we're looking to install signs, schedule information, landing pads if needed for accessibility, shelters, benches, and trash cans if needed. So what we come up with for a maintenance agreement is that the local jurisdiction is responsible for maintaining any sort of capital improvements we make, such as shelters or benches or landing pads. during the lifespan, and we're calling that typically a 10-year lifespan. And then otherwise, the county will maintain any signs that are installed as part of this project. Next slide. So this grant expires at the end of this fiscal year, so in June, and this new route is one of the priorities across our network to make improvements for. So we've identified 8 locations on the map that you saw a few slides ago to receive the signage and schedule information. And again, these signs are going to be very prominent. You'll see on the top right there what we've installed in Cornelius. These are big signs. So we really want folks to be able to pinpoint the locations to make stops. Folks can still flag down the service if needed, and the route will deviate up to a half mile off the route. But we really want to provide a little more certainty as to where the bus is going to be stopping, and so that's why we want to identify these locations. And we work closely with Max and his team to identify those. And then the other exciting thing we're doing is, you see on the bottom right, that park along 126th Avenue, the Garden Village Open Space, I believe is what it's called. So right now there's no sidewalk on that street, but we've identified a stop location right by that gazebo, and we're looking to potentially create a walkway on the west side with some of that excess space to be able to facilitate safe access to and from that bus stop. Next slide. So just kind of gives you an overview of all the stops we're planning. Don't necessarily need to read them all, but these are all the stops located on public right-of-way in King City that we're making improvements. There's several stops that Ride Connection is working on directly with private property owners, where the shuttle bus will be encroaching on their property. Next slide.
How does that work with the private properties?
So the three private properties we're currently working with are Eldorado Mobile Estates, which I believe is unincorporated, not necessarily part of King City. The King City Plaza, which is not only a key destination, but also a key part of the routing on 116th. And then the Safeway over in Tigard. We've entered private property agreements or releases with other property owners on our routes in Tualatin and elsewhere. And we're currently working with ROI and the Eldorado property owner to reach some sort of agreement to manage risk and liability on Ride Connection's part, but also make sure that we're receiving permission to operate a bus service in these locations. We believe it is mutually beneficial for Ride Connection and the property owner and the community. It's opening up these businesses to people who might otherwise not have a transportation option there. Folks who might be shopping or frequenting a small business. So we're hoping that in the next few days we get some good news from these property owners, but it might be an ongoing process, and we might be looking to support within the community if we are initially told no by the property owners.
I'm going to just walk through sort of designs we're looking at for the stop at 126th and King Richard. So this is sort of our interim project we're looking at. So we would install some tubular markers on the west side of the street, spaced out every 10 or 20 feet or so, and just to provide a 10-foot or 8-foot area for folks to walk safely down the street. And then closer to the gazebo, you can see there's a 10-foot long shuttle waiting area. So that's where the shuttle would be planned to stop at, and folks could wait in the gazebo for their shuttle to arrive. The next slide. Yeah, sorry, I got the text a bit mixed up. So this is sort of our ultimate vision. We wanted something a little more robust to put down here, something that would work aesthetically within the community. Unfortunately, so these are concrete separators. You can see example there on the bottom left. Unfortunately, this is going to cost quite a bit more money to install, and it won't quite fit within our current budget. So we are looking at, we are going to apply for another SIP discretionary grant that will help pay for this improvement. Unfortunately, we won't know yet if we'll be able to get the grant. We're hopeful we can, and we've worked closely with Max to be able to submit a letter of support to ODOT to hopefully win the award. But this is sort of our vision as of now. We want to be able to provide a a safe space for folks to walk, whether or not they're using the shuttle bus. We just think it'd be a value add to the community to be able to safely walk down this street. Next slide. Oh, sorry.
Because there's not a sidewalk there?
There's no sidewalk on either side. And we've gone there several times and really haven't noticed much of a parking demand on that street. There still would be parking on the east side if we were able to take a few feet on the west side to be able to do so.
Okay, more of a comment than a question. ODOT apparently has a budgeting crisis, ability to get grant funds.
So, do you recall how much is being allocated for this discretionary?
1.5 billion, I think.
1.5 billion? Wait, for
The ODOT shortfall.
oh, the shortfall, yeah, but this is separate because this is coming from the SPIF revenues, the payroll tax revenues. It's a separate pot of funds. So, there is a chance that it will be oversubscribed and we might not get all the funding we're asking for, and we'll have to make some decisions then. But, yeah, we don't think that mentioning would directly impact our ability to get this funds. It's much more of a fact of how competitive our grant application will be.
And then I think the STIF program overall, which is going to be providing ongoing dollars for the bus service, initially I think revenues did exceed expectations, but it is widely viewed as a successful, sustainable funding source for public transit service providers like Ride Connection and partners at Washington County. So we are optimistic that while ODOT may have other budget or funding woes, that those won't impact this bus service.
Yeah. Thank you, John. So the details of the intergovernmental agreement. So this agreement will allow the county to procure and install all the materials required. Within King City, it actually is just going to be signage and then striping and those tubular markers you saw as part of this grant. So we would install those. And then the city assumes control of maintenance of those assets for 10 years. So that's everything but the signage. And then we'll maintain the signage throughout the life of the project. Go ahead. So our schedule right now, we've been developing stop concepts and sending them over to the city staff for review. We've developed a maintenance IGA, which is before you this evening. We're currently in the process of finalizing those concepts, submitting those site plans for our right-of-way permit, hopefully in the next month or so. And then we can hopefully finalize the IGA this evening, and then we'll be able to finalize stop designs once we get comments back from your permitting department on any necessary changes. We'll be releasing a request for proposal to select a construction contractor this fall, and then installing those improvements and opening up in late winter, spring timeframe. In the meantime, once the shuttle is operating, there'll be temporary signage along the route so folks will know where those stops are located. And then hopefully by, I don't know, April or May of next year, we can get those signs and other improvements installed. All right, take any questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a quick question. The existing KC roundabout and the new routes, neither of them go into Edgewater.
So new route not going to Edgewater.
West of 131st.
West of 131st. Yes, you're correct. That isn't being considered for an expansion currently. Certainly we could study in the future, particularly as we, I think, continue to survey existing riders in the community and look for improvements. But no, it is not part of the plan currently.
I suppose it's too late, but if you went down Fisher to 136, there's that nice roundabout there, which would probably be perfect for anyway, throwing that out there. Yeah, your service is valuable and needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will check when I can open up maps and see if that it would at least be part of the deviation zone. I'm not sure.
Probably within the half mile, I would say.
If it's within the half mile and we begin providing deviations there, that's a great source of data for future route improvements. If we start seeing a lot of deviations, it might make sense to formalize that as part of the route. But always we appreciate any input from community stakeholders. and the public, and we'll note that and consider in the future, certainly.
Maybe just some signage for now, because I lived there 7 years, I don't know where it's service.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been operating for 20 years now. We've been going 20 years without signs, so it's a big need for marketing, visibility, providing a professional transit service in the community. So we're excited to get those out there.
And if I could just interject something, I think our transportation system plan actually has a transit plan for the next 20, 30 years that would probably incorporate and expand upon the loop that you currently have to service everything within the new and expanding King City. So it reaches that quarter-mile threshold, because that was, I think the goal is to make sure that there was a transit stop within walking distance, and walking distance is considered quarter mile. So that's actually a component of the transportation system plan. I think maybe worth looking at once we see a little bit more development coming in.
Great. Yeah, we will look into it for sure.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you for what you're doing. I think it's a wonderful community service, and particularly because this part of King City has a lot of older people who either cannot drive or do not want to drive. And they have doctor's appointments in Tualatin and Sherwood, and getting to the grocery store. I mean, the whole thing. I think it's just a wonderful service.
Yes. Thank you for your presentation. I knew about it just because I would see the shuttle buses parked out here in KCCA, but I didn't really know how it was operated and funded, and just now knowing like the Yamhill Connector, I always see the bus and it's like, how does this get funding? But now I know it's actually our tax dollars at work. And yeah, thank you for putting that out there, and hopefully we can maybe get something. Chief, is this something, does your force have information if someone needs transportation, you can give them Ride Connection phone number to make? Okay, cool. Yeah. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to hear the enthusiasm for the service.
Yeah.
Excited to get this new service out there.
Should be on, is it on King City's website?
Yeah, so in your packet is an intergovernmental agreement that the staff has authorization to move forward. And so what we need on that, what we're asking for, is approval to move forward on that intergovernmental agreement.
Yeah, so do we have a motion for the Ride Connection IGA agreement?
I hear you. I'm sorry. Got a phlegm in my throat. I move that we approve the IGA agreement for the Ride Connection.
Okay, second. All in favor, raise your hands.
Again, a slight modification to authorize the staff to execute that.
Okay. You want to modify that?
Modify your amendment. Councilor Tice, so you have
Okay, to modify it to,
allow staff to execute that agreement.
okay. I move that we allow staff to execute the agreement for the IGA for Ride Connect.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right, section C here, the League of Oregon Cities 2024 legislative priorities. Mr. Weston.
So, the League of Oregon Cities, every couple of years sends out a list of their priorities. There's about 22 of them in your packet. One was double stated, the wastewater and water infrastructure was on like page 4, and again on page 16 or something like that.
Water's important. you can't.
So important that you put it in there twice. But there were 22 in total. When we walked through, I sent out just a list to the counselors priorities on this, from our standpoint, but we're here to kind of find out what the council would like to select. I just provided that list as kind of an idea of what the city, high interest would be from the business standpoint of what the city does. One of our biggest liabilities right now is our parks and trails, with the loss of recreational immunity. So having some legislative bills to actually reform and reestablish recreational immunity so that we can allow our parks and trails to remain open and our sidewalks to remain open and all those public spaces, that's very important for us. Of course, water and wastewater infrastructure is key for us to continue to provide those services not only to our residents, but also to our expansion areas. The transportation package I touched on earlier, but essentially, Oregon Department of Transportation is coming up with a estimated $1.5 billion shortfall statewide, which would impact a lot of the street programs that benefit our small cities, including maintenance of our local streets, all these other aspects. That's all in that transportation package. So if that goes forward, again, we have hopefully keeps that money in our coffers to do those road improvement projects every year. With the passage of Measure 110, 75% of the marijuana revenues that the city receives bucket to help drug crime or misdemeanors deal with drug addiction. So if there was somebody who was arrested for drugs or dealing or anything else like that, they had the option to go into a drug rehab facility that was paid for by the money that was taken out of the city, which we were using to pay for an extra police officer. But like it took away a substantial chunk of money from our coffers when Measure 110 was passed, and it put it into a program that currently is overfunded and underutilized. And so right now, and I think Chief Albert could speak to it too, because they've seen the numbers on the police side, but a lot of times when they arrest somebody for a drug, what do you call it, a drug-related offense, they have the option of not paying their ticket and going to rehab, but then they never really go to the rehab. So then it's just a big hole in the system. So we're hoping that marijuana reform will actually reallocate those funds back to the cities. We're actually utilizing those funds, and we're the ones that have the distribution centers in our cities, so dealing with them on the ground level. So that's why I have that as my number 4. I put this one here as number 5. It was behavioral health enhancement. A lot of our homeless situations that we see are because people out there don't have facilities to deal with their mental health illnesses. And so I think a lot of our homeless issues can be addressed if we have enhancements to our mental health facility. And the behavioral health enhancements allow judges to send essentially homeless and our police force to send mentally unstable people to mental health institutions so they can get the kind of care that they're looking for. And I felt that kind of was killing 2 birds with 1 stone, essentially, getting them the help that they need as well as getting them off the streets. The next one was community safety, neighborhood, and livability. This is the transportation funding. It includes safe routes to school as well, so it's kind of tied to that transportation package as well. I think we only get like 5 selections that we get to choose. I could continue walking through this. We had funding and aligning some of the permitting processes through state agencies on there. That's the next one I had on there. And gas tax, lodging tax, alcohol tax, and then energy affordability were probably my top 10. So with that, I sent that out to everybody. I'm sure you all have your own opinions on what your top 5 are going to be, and I would like to take this time to get that from you so that then I can go enter it into the LOC webpage.
I was unsure when you sent this, that we should choose our 5 most important.
Yeah, I just ranked them based on everything that was there after reading it and kind of reviewing it, what was, one, in the best interest of King City first, and then what's in the best interest of our region, Washington County and Metro Region, and then as a state as a whole. So when I compiled my list, that's kind of where my mind and thought process started and worked through. And then some of those, what I was looking for is what is the direct correlation or the direct benefit to King City. And so that's how I numbered those based on, would King City actually see a benefit, or would it just be a program that benefits some other entity but not really?
I do have a question about the behavioral health enhancements. We are so small that I'm assuming that any behavioral health enhancements has to be contracted out to other places and jurisdictions outside of King City itself. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. We do not do that personally. But when you read it in the package itself, what it says is it allows the courts to send persons to treatment facilities, which ultimately would reduce the homelessness. It expands the access to behavioral health treatment and allows the courts to direct people that are unable to care for themselves to treatment facilities. So that's kind of the background that was in the packet, the LSC packet. So when we think about some of the complaints that we receive about homelessness and everything else in our area, there's a few ways that we might be able to address that. One, providing them housing, providing them shelter, and then providing them the treatments that they need. Some of it's drug addiction, some of it's mental health, some of it's just they need a foot up so that they can get back on the right track and off the street. So trying to think compassionately about what is in their best interest and how we address this holistically, it's quite a robust challenge.
More of a regional problem than a city of King City problem.
Yeah.
Specifically, and there's a lot of, right now, tax revenue sitting there not being managed is really unacceptable.
Yeah, I think Washington County is doing pretty well for their programs, but my understanding is Clackamas and Multnomah are really struggling to get that. Yeah, I'll just continue, but I do believe that Clackamas County and Multnomah have been struggling to get theirs up and running in the same manner in which the Washington County has. And I think Washington County repurposed a lot of those bond measures that came out of that and really went to town creating a lot of shelters and a program for getting folks off the street and into sustainable living conditions. And I think that their program's actually doing pretty well, and they're trying to plan ahead on how that becomes stable for the foreseeable future. I think that Tanya with and have given some great about their 1 out of 3.
It's not batting very good.
But I do have hope that the other 2 counties will start getting their programs up and running. It hasn't been as effective as Washington.
I think Multnomah County is about ready. Got a little hiccup, but they're going.
Yeah, theirs is a lot more complex.
I would say it's a lot more complex.
And they truthfully have the biggest burden.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, so I think Multnomah definitely is carrying a lot on their shoulders there. So getting their program off the ground, of course, has taken longer. I think Washington County, with the infrastructure here and some of our larger industrial base and job bases that we have, and the resources that really helps afford a good program. Good.
I have a question on the one that shifts the gas tax to the road user fee. Would that be like completely doing away with that, what is it, the 40 cent per gallon gas tax, and then shifting a fee onto registration? Or would that only be for electric vehicles? Has it been?
They're never gonna, like, that's funny, like, they're gonna drop a tax.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually think that
Or do you have a use, use tax?
Would probably be just added onto the registration fee for an electric vehicle would be my guess, and they'd probably have to go to DEQ and do a bid or a mileage odometer check and then pay a fee.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they'll actually drop the gas tax, because I think their objective is to be, carbon neutral or whatever. So they're trying to promote the electric vehicles more. So I doubt that they would reduce the gas tax, but they are losing money because more people are going to electric vehicles. And so that's also, it's funny because that also puts more pressure on the electrical grid, which helps all of our electrical bills to go up because there's more demand on our power.
Well, yeah, I mean, my concern would be too, if they did away with the gas tax, I mean, people would not be ready to pay a huge hefty fee when they come to register their car. You know, that tax would have to stay, so that way it's spread out, right, every time you fill up your tank.
So it could be annual, you know, when you submit your odometer meeting.
Yeah, I think there was originally some kind of volunteers program to electric vehicles.
Your registration, you would submit your new odometer, and you'd have to pay use fee based on the miles. I would imagine that's what they're talking.
It's probably what, okay.
Would be the most.
I mean, we don't have too many electric cars, I don't think, in King City. I see a few. But I think looking forward, that revenue from the gas tax will start going down as that popularity comes up. So that might be something you might want to look at to get put on now, or at least start working on it with the legislature.
I concur for rising that up as a priority set. Because that will be, I mean, we benefit from the statewide gas tax, we get a share of that helps our street maintenance. We don't have a gas tax in King City. If we did, we'd be able to do a lot more streets, on an annual basis, but it's been shot down in the past, so. But it's still on our, hopefully we move that forward at some time, but, yeah, I think that is a good one to rise up for sure, and I think that if they do reform the gas tax to add the road miles as well, that would definitely behoove us and benefit the city in a sense to give us more revenues for our street maintenance.
Yeah, and I like the marijuana tax revenue to get some of that back to the city. That was a big goal. Anyone else have input on any of the items?
Well, it's just how are we gonna make a decision?
Well, this is more like a recommendation to staff to say, like, these would be our top 5 priorities, because then we have to send those to the LOC.
But mine had his, I mean, they're all good.
Yeah.
All good,
Yeah.
and then Jan we've had a couple, I just wondered how are we gonna narrow it down to the 5?
Tough.
It's because the LOC acts as a lobbying force.
Right, this would be.
To the state, and King City itself is going to choose the 5 things that we think they should lobby.
What will the
And then,
process be?
and then LOC is gonna take the top 5 from the whole state, all the cities, and then that's what they're gonna choose to lobby on, yeah.
Look, I think the easiest way to do this really is ask each of you to identify what your 5 top are. So we'll tally it, and then I'll take those top 5 and we'll put both if that's all right with everyone. Does that work for everyone, or?
Yeah.
Who wants to turn them into you, or?
We're gonna take a few minutes, go over.
If you want to just take a couple minutes right now, and if you haven't tallied it already, just take a couple moments, and, when you're ready, I'll, take your top 5.
So on the recreational immunity, is that's just expiring? I've got I think a document somewhere. I'll take it, I'll just make more sense. But on that recreational immunity, that's just expiring, and all that really takes is the legislature just extending.
Yeah.
There was a court order that granted a person tort claim for tripping on a trail. And so now, all the cities shut down their parks, trails, and like along the coast and everyone else, just because all of a sudden the liability.
That'd be cool to put a voting button on here. Pop up.
So it's gonna be way more complicated than
There you go.
legally to get something passed that can get through the courts, then that's what they have to work on.
Yeah, and so what they would do is try to pass some legislation that would then,
Curb that risk, because right now, we're all part of the same insurance risk.
and so the liability alone, if the city's liable for people that are just out walking, we could be hit with tort claims every week.
Hey, Danny, you wanna go for a walk after this?
And like, well, right now, just for all transparency, there's a temporary catch on it. Yeah, there were a number of cities that shut down all parks and recreation facilities as soon as the first lawsuit went through. And just shut everything down.
I'm probably not gonna give you 5, I'm gonna give you a few that I think are important, and the others I'm gonna just like, I don't really care. I mean, I think they all should be addressed.
Yes, exactly. It's hard to pick 5.
Yeah, it's hard to pick 5, because, but I think there's 3 of them to me that are like, yeah, I think that's probably where I would wanna see our votes go towards, depending on what the group says, but I'll defer the other 2 if nobody says anything else. I mean, you guys are in the weeds more than we are on some of this stuff, especially like the chief, what he has to deal with from the police department. That stuff isn't visible up to most of us, We're pretty lucky here in the homeless, we don't.
Yeah.
Just our little pieces of paper that you cut out, or did
Oh, you can keep one of the best. Yeah. Oh, did you number them on that?
No, I did write on it.
Okay, yeah, it's for you. You can write on it, and then we'll take a vote here in a second. And we'll just get everyone's, top 5.
It might put some things in different orders. I guess it doesn't.
So you put them in whatever order you want them.
Okay.
All right, is everyone, am I ready, or you go by whoever's ready first? President Ellis, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, in no order. The recreational immunity, infrastructure funding, water and wastewater, the transportation package, marijuana tax reform, and the gas to road user fee.
I'll give you what I got 3 and in no particular order also, but water and wastewater, transportation, and the recreational immunity.
Okay. Recreational immunity, infrastructure funding for water and waste, transportation package, behavioral health enhancement, and funding and alignment for housing production.
Randy, go Mark.
Number 1 was infrastructure funding. 2 was restoration of recreational immunity. 3 was building decarbonization, efficiency, and modernization. 4 was address energy affordability challenges and rising utility costs. And 5 was investment in community resilience, climate planning and resources.
I like that affordability one. I'm so by because
But energy affordability challenge, our costs of energy is leaps and bounds, and I believe some of us represent people with limited incomes, and I think something should be done about that. Community safety, livability, behavioral health enhancements, continuing addiction policy reform, and gas tax for road use fee. For road use.
Councilor Choi.
Yes, I agree with that. This all is great points for our community, and they all kind of apply, but we have to go ranking them. I would put nothing in order. Those restoration, infrastructure funding, package, testing, and neighborhood living.
So, three-way tie.
That's your top 3 then.
So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, pretty much good to go. We need a tiebreaker between, behavioral health, community safety and neighborhood livability, and energy affordability.
I'll throw in another one. I only gave you 3 for energy.
Yeah, I was gonna say the energy, because I mean, they're always asking for those increases.
Right, so we have our top 5: recreational immunity, water and wastewater infrastructure, transportation package, the, gas tax, road user fee, and the energy affordability. Okay?
Okay.
Get a motion to go with those 5, and then I'll.
Don't move.
So second?
Okay.
All in favor? All right, you good there? Weston? Good? Police chief's report.
One quick thing with, we touched on it briefly with, and something we started hearing in the news a little bit more with, for us in particular, it's the Washington County Deflection Program, which is the changes to Measure 110. And so that goes, starts on September 1st. And so just a quick rundown of it, basically, Measure 110 decriminalized, possession of basically all drugs and turn it from a crime into a violation. And now we've come back to, we're now going to call the drug, with the exception of marijuana, if you're caught with a certain, residual amount or a small user amount, it's found to be an unclassified misdemeanor crime called PCSU. And now we'll be able to cite and release. The jail is currently not able to accept the custody just due to manpower issues and people that are in the jail. And so it'll be a cite and release, but it's a unique program that they'll be given a court date within 7 days of the actual arrest. And, we don't have to worry about it as far as the police department goes, but they'll be in contact with the deflection program that basically enables them to enter into a program and to complete it. So basically what's happening is the fix that they made was kind of hang this criminal charge over your head. And it's this drug treatment program that you do not. So it's just trying to encourage them that way to get into, you know, a successful treatment program that is out there. So we'll see how this works out. Up to each individual county and state. 30 to 33 counties are participating in the deflection program. Most, I think, are close to being up and getting ready for September 1st. Started back. We actually have a center. And so I think they pushed it back a month, but there are certain counties.
I have a question on that. I don't know if you know, so homeless population that would get picked up to get diverted into the program, how do they keep in contact with them? If they have no phone, I mean, someone may have a phone or something to get in contact, but how is that program able to keep, they send social workers out to the field and?
They actually do, so that's part of the program, the deflection program. They'll actually have people available once this is up and going. They could actually come to your location if you're out with somebody to say, hey, is there a deflection person that's available? They can come to where you are and help them, you know, get into the program. I think, if I remember right, I've heard about, you know, getting people to the location to be able to get in front of a judge or to be able to get to a location to be able to enter into a program and to at least go through the steps to get them started. It'd be extremely difficult. As they see the, you know, the homelessness issues and the behavioral health, they're type guys. Absolutely. Starts to go, and hopefully it'll start changing a few more things. We'll be a little bit more aggressive now. It's something that before we violation of it. You know, not necessarily here. We just don't see it a lot here, but you know, there's just work. You know, on it was like, you know, the cycle of these. You give them a card that, you know, states here's what you need to do to, you know, basically get out from underneath this charge. You have new charges, as well as the drugs that are not going to be eligible for deflection. So there is some areas where, yeah, you're not going to be eligible for it, but we're encouraging them to hopefully get it. Questions on that?
No, thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay. Moving on to city manager's report.
I'll just touch briefly. We've been moving forward on the West Side Trail segment. We're anticipating that we'll have some design from our engineers here shortly. We plan to do a couple pop-up events, revisit Deer Creek Elementary School, go back down the park, and get some input on some of that stuff, and then we'll end up going to the planning commission, and hopefully by the end of next month. Yeah, probably in September. Yeah. And if not, if we can't get it done by September, then possibly the following month, October. The local wetlands inventory is in preliminary stages of submittal to Department of State Land. So probably in the next week or two, we expect that the OFLAM and the GIS mapping will be submitted to the Department of State Land. And then as soon as that's done and we get concurrence on some of those things, then we'll present that to the Planning Commission as well. So October may be a busy month for our Planning Commission. And then both of those documents will then need to come back before the City Council for final adoption. One of the things that we want to do for the local wetland inventory is have like a pop-up open house where our consultants can kind of do, what is a local wetland inventory? What's its purpose? Why do we have this? And just kind of have an open house session where people can come around the stations and kind of see what a LWI is, what it does, and how we use it. Ultimately, the LWI is essentially a map of where we think wetlands are and where we've mapped wetlands. And it essentially puts down the foundation, so if somebody comes in to develop that property, we realize that there's a wetland there and require the delineation. The way our code is written anyways, they have to do a wetland delineation prior to development anyways, but this is kind of an alarm bell for our planning staff and our environmental folks and our engineers here at the city to pay attention that there's a potential natural resource here and that we need to keep our eye on it. So that's kind of what an LWI does. It essentially establishes the groundwork for where we believe those wetlands are, what the extent of those wetlands are, and what the value of those wetlands are. So that's all forthcoming here in the very near future. Open house, I anticipate as soon as we have PSL concurrence, which that could take a couple months. So I'm hoping it doesn't take as long as we've heard it can take, because we've been working with DSL throughout this process, so hopefully they've been kind of brought along the whole way. Once this is all over and done with, that's the last piece, the Kingston Terrace area. As you're already aware, we've annexed 215 acres. So the Alice Farm and Garden Store is now in King City. The area surrounding that is also King City. So the King City boundary is Roy Rogers, it's 99W, Beast Bend, and then of course we have some gaps in between, but both sides of Elsner Road, all the way over to 150th, and then Beast Bend all the way back to the power line. Current city limits for now. We did finalize the partition plat for Alice Farm and Garden. That basically takes the plot of land that Alice is on, the 10 plus acres, I think it was, right? And puts them on their own parcel, and then the surrounding parcel around is what the New Home Company has submitted for development, and they just submitted their building plans for the infrastructure, the public infrastructure component today. So I imagine we'll be doing a pre-construction meeting next week, and they could be potentially moving ground or grading and everything by the end of next week or the week after. Beyond that, I think I touched on a couple of the comments that were made. I thought Ms. Mobley made some valid points in her comments that, you know, we should remain fair, and we should stick to what's on the agenda and how it's listed. So I felt that was some valid points that we should probably take into consideration. The other issues, you know, a lot of that was already resolved, and it's part of the planning work that's already been done. It's all part of King City. Sherwood has their own growth areas that are further to the south. King City's growth areas are to our west, out to Roy Rogers. That's our jurisdictional area. Sherwood, of course, is to the south of Shoals-Sherwood Road, down to Beckman or Edward. Yeah, and then Eddie, right? Eddie? Yeah, Edie Road. So they're down further to the south. So I kind of point out that that's kind of King City's jurisdictional area over there.
Isn't there Tigard property now on the other side of?
Just north of
North.
Yeah.
Okay, so up on the hillside?
Yeah,
That's
so
the Tigard.
The jurisdictional line between King City and Tigard is Beast Bend. So Beast Bend center line south to the Tualatin River is King City.
So that's how they connect to the rest of Tigard, is through Beast Bend.
Yeah.
So
Tigard city limits right now stop at 150th.
Oh.
And then go north.
They go north, okay.
And then it goes up to their new development on River Terrace.
Right.
And then it kind of zigzags over to like Hard Rock and Elementary, and all the way over to Roy Rogers. And now there's that new area, River Terrace 2.0, that's the area south of our Ruffin that goes down to East Bend, and Tiger just brought that into their urban growth boundary. So they've done their concept plan, they brought it into their urban growth boundary, but now they have to go through all their community planning and transportation planning and all the stuff that we did last year. They're now gonna have to go through that. Beaverton's still going through theirs, Hillsboro's still going through theirs, Wilsonville might be the only one, and us were.
East Bend Road is in Tigard proper.
And King City.
And King City, we split half and half. The whole length of it.
Yes.
Down the center line. Yes. Right.
Yeah. So when you see the development coming in on the corner of Roy Rogers and East Bend, they'll most likely be doing half-street improvements on the south side to meet our street standards. And our street standards should be a 3-lane East Bend with a separated multi-use pathway. So there'll be some planter area in between there, and I think it's a 12 or 15-foot concrete pathway along that stretch, and you should see the wall. New Home did a nice animated drive-through of what the development's gonna look like or envision as it is. Another option, and I encourage everyone to do it, is to go down to Roy Rogers and drive Roy Rogers north to Shoals Ferry, and then take a right and go down a block and then take a right onto River Terrace Boulevard, and just take River Terrace Boulevard all the way down to our Ruffin. New Home did all that. So that's the same group that's doing ours. And they have some pretty nice stuff, some beautiful park features, nice wetland trails, nice wetland natural area. I think they're in the process right now of creating a center, I think where the old blueberry farm used to be. And then I think they have different areas for different housing types. It's really, it's pretty nicely done for the limitations that we are kind of forced to comply with when we're talking about lot sizes and densities and things of that nature that are kind of outside of our sphere of control, right? A lot of the densities are, I call it like a home rule creep. Essentially, they're kind of dictated to us on what kind of densities we have to meet when the areas are brought into the urban growth boundary. And so for King City, we have to program, I think it's like 3,300 units. Yeah, just about. It's like 3,300 or 3,400 units in the Kingston Terrace area. We had 528 acres. We set aside over 220 acres for parks, recreation, and open space. So that left us, about 300 acres to try to plug in 3,400 units, essentially 3,400 units. So it's going to be 10 to 12. It's tight when you put in roads and everything else. So kind of gives you an idea of the math on that.
Thank you. All right, councilors' reports. So Gelson, do you have anything?
Yeah, I had the opportunity last weekend to go to Carla Banks' place and tour and speak with some really wonderful people. I was treated very well. They were very friendly. And I have a feeling for the things that they speak of because I used to be a property owner myself. So it was a wonderful day spent. That's all I can say. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you. Councilor Wallison, you have anything? Yes. Councilor Tyso?
A couple of them. Basically, I've attended all these things by Zoom, so. MPAC was on August 1st. And interesting their overview, they have concerns regarding housing instability and looking for ways to improve housing for homeless persons. And the biggest thing that they're working on at the moment is the Rose Quarter Improvement Project, which has definitely been on television news and in the newspapers quite a bit, and how to meet criteria for federal funding for help. And a couple of the projects that they intended on promoting do not fit within the federal funding. So they've dropped those and they have chosen some other projects that do meet the federal funding. And their overarching goal is to make the area near the Rose Quarter safe and walkable and to reconnect housing and business opportunities. And the other thing that happened with MPAC, which is an arm of Metro, is that they, Tualatin River Keepers was awarded a grant to implement better access to the river along the West Side Trail system. So Metro does pay attention to our environment and to how to be sensitive so that the people who live in the greater metro area have access without destroying the natural beauty. And the League of Oregon Cities, their small city 99th annual conference will be in Bend in October. I don't know who is going to be going to that. And then I listened into the Washington County Community Committee for Involvement. That was last night, and that went on for a long time. And the focus of that meeting was a presentation by Jim, chair of one of the subcommittees, and which is Significant Natural Resources Committee. And evidently in 2019, there were some of the compliance rules were somewhat loosened to help encourage development. And so now this has created conflict in what people think is okay to do and what isn't okay to do. And so the committee has been working on a letter draft proposal to strengthen protections and establish clearer guidelines. They're objecting to ordinances 901 and 902, and I did not have time to read them. Gretchen, how do you say her name wrong? Buhner? Is a member of the committee, or not of that particular committee, but part of the Community Committee for Involvement, as is Carl Swanson, and both of them had good ideas on the working draft of the letter to make the proposal from them stronger and more coherent, because it was kind of, quite frankly, it was all over the map. Everybody, too many cooks in the kitchen. It looked a little bit like a fruit salad. So anyway, I shouldn't say that because it's hard to try to cover everything and to make sense of it. I would say both Gretchen and Carl were good at pinpointing things that should be highlighted. And tomorrow I'm doing the community block grant house tour that's going to take most of the day tomorrow. Starts in Hillsborough.
Can I just ask one quick question on that CCI meeting last night and that their letter? Who is that directed toward? Is it toward Washington County?
It is directed towards Washington County.
Thank you. Councilor Ochoa?
Thank you. I also joined the impact. I can just listening to what the cities are doing, what the discussions are. Very interesting. People from the community also showed up with what opinions they were doing for. Very interested to see what the city is doing. So we're not alone in this. I mean, over the place, the company was doing a great job and it's how to recruit, population growth, growing, and there is need for us to plan to accommodate that growth. If we don't do it, definitely there's going to be tears on our hands down the road as well. And even our city was mentioned, someone has mentioned our city, like they kind of stuff, giving the opportunity to do that training to talk about. Questions are feeling respectful, everyone was respectful, and now the question is within the commission to also listening what the commission is dealing with. And just listening as to what people brought before them. Good discussions, and they have a great, they welcome the new addition to the group. We're able to discuss great topics. I was not able to attend the water advisory board because I have power emergency at my home. I tried calling it, but they were able to let me take the meeting. I planned to go in person because of the emergency. And I called up at a meeting and I was told we don't have any concerns about water supply. Temperatures are dropping, rain is coming back, and river levels will be expected to start getting better again as we get to the we will get the rain, the snow, and everything else. So no concerns there. When I get the minutes from that 10,000 person concern, I'm sure it will get.
Thank you. Councilor Olson?
Well, real quick, I'm gonna beat that dead horse. Municipal Code 2.04.090, the minutes of the last regular meeting shall be read before proceeding with other regular business. Council's opinion aside, it seems pretty clear to me. So I would encourage the city to produce the minutes in a more timely manner to ensure we're in compliance with the municipal code.
Thank you. And I just have a couple of items. Mike touched on the one that River Terrace Boulevard. I would encourage everyone to drive down it from, what was it, Shoals Ferry all the way down. It's just very interesting, the different densities and what New Home is putting in. New Home didn't build all of that. There's a section of it that's not New Home, but most of it is theirs, and just the product and toured some of the homes that they've put up already. The nice product that they're putting out for the consumer to purchase. But it's just really good the way that the roads go over the different water, the creeks, or I don't know if they're year-round creeks, but in the different bridge types that they've put in, and different ways that they've designed the road to slow down traffic, which is a lot of what we've talked about in our TSP. Just some of those different ways in mitigating and slowing down traffic. And then the other thing, Councilor Tyso brought up the LOC conference in October. I will be attending that. That's the 17th through the 19th. And that was all I had.
I just have one more thing before we, we're trying to do a golf tournament over at the KCCA on September 27th, Friday, September 27th. So we're going to use some of our park funds, park and event funds, to try to host that and see if we can get it going. I think it's 9 holes, so I think we probably are limited to how many teams we can get. But I've been working with Troy Olmstead. We'll get that going. Probably be kind of a low-key event, but, try to get some people going. We'll try to get a couple KPs. We'll probably do closest to the hole and longest putt. And, of course, whoever wins the scramble will have prizes. So hopefully we'll be able to get that all pulled together and we'll test this into our own.
All right, thank you. Sounds like that would be a fun time. And with that, at 7:57 p.m., we will adjourn the meeting. What's that? Oh, sorry. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I just want to make a quick comment. I heard a lot of frustration tonight on the public, feeling that we do not listen, but I can speak for myself, and I think my fellow counselors, that we all do listen and we all do care. And there is a part of me that would like to propose that we have a whiteboard roundtable to allow people to say what they want to say. Because if you feel like you're being shut down and not listened to, that just creates more frustration and more anger. And I think it's time to face people's objections and to hear them out and to find, and I know that most of them have left.
My door's always open too.
And I understand that, but
You manage to annex property from Sherwood when it's not within Metro.
I'm not sure what, so,
Where Al's Garden is.
Not sure what. No.
well, it says it online. Well, it's a Sherwood postal address, but it's not Sherwood property.
so let me explain, because I think what you're talking about is the zip code, right? So,
It just says Sherwood.
On their website, they said Sherwood, but they aren't Sherwood. They were unincorporated Washington County.
I'm sorry.
Sherwood is not one of the 24 cities of Metro.
What is it?
Sherwood is not part of Metro.
Yeah, they are, I believe they are.
Then they better change it online.
Yeah, so Sherwood, Wilsonville, Spiger, there's 28.
24.
27 or 28, actually, I think, if not 29.
On Sherwood City's website, there is a historical annexation map that shows each and every area and when it was part of Sherwood.
Updating information.
What's that?
Information is not updated
But if I could,
online.
I'd be happy to discuss all this and more anytime.
Yeah, but that was what I did.
I'll walk you through the whole thing.
Well, I read your message in the community.
Feel free to come and, sit us up here in the office. The staff and I are more than happy to help out and provide information as well anytime.
Okay,
So, we're here, Monday through Friday,
thank you.
and anytime you want to come and chat with us, we're here. If I'm not here, Max is here, or Ronnie's here, we have some staff here that are definitely, willing and knowledgeable. We'll be more than happy to help walk you through it.
I guess I'm done.
Donnie wants you to finish your proposal.
My proposal is that we somehow have a community open house where everybody has an opportunity to say whatever they feel that is important to them that we should all hear. And I can't say that we will come up with solutions and answers at this open house, but I want everybody to be heard.
It's more like a listening session.
A listening session.
No, it needs to go back and forth, because sometimes I have questions, about, like, what you were talking about didn't make sense to me, because I believe, like you said, the websites aren't updated, so before we even get overly passionate about something, we need to make sure that all the facts are clear to both of us, right?
You know, I'm good, I think it's a great idea, what you're
Yes, I
proposing,
think
and
we
maybe
should
we
have
just
a-
do it with a couple of counselors, so we don't have to worry about a quorum, you know, at a time, so that, you know, so we could create some kind of venue where, because I'm good with that too, like hearing, because it seems like these meetings are a little confusing to me, you know, we come and we hear, we don't discuss a lot at these meetings, so we don't, you know, unless Kenny and I get together and have a discussion about things or something like that, there's really not a lot of inter-discussion between us. So the perception is, you know, like, oh, these guys just don't care about us.
And that's totally not true.
Yeah.
So is that something you want to put on, like, next agenda, just so we can discuss and put
We
something
can
together?
discuss the format
Yeah.
on the next agenda, and then,
So you want to,
and then hopefully staff can come up with maybe a venue and a format.
Well, what we used to do is we used to do like a coffee hour, you know, when Mayor Bender would do a coffee hour once a month, or.
no one would show up.
Yeah.
But that's,
I mean, we
no,
wouldn't have
I
to
think
let
we need
this-
something
true.
bigger than that, something more formal than a coffee hour.
Well, I mean, the thing is that understanding what the format, understanding what the issues at hand are, I think you start with listening sessions, you start with coffee hours, you start with people being able to come and chat with you and get that information flowing. Because a lot of misinformation is floating around out there. People just don't understand what it is that we're doing and why it is that we've had to do it. So, understanding top to bottom what it is the city's job is, what the city's responsibilities are for not only current residents of King City, but also state mandate and future requirements. We have to consider all of that as a city, as a municipality. And so, being able to explain that doesn't happen in just a one-setting situation. Like, it is a lot to absorb and a lot to explain. And so just having the ability to have sit-downs over coffee or donuts or roundtable, where you can have just frank conversations with people is a lot easier at interacting and explaining more in-depth detail. And maybe even taking a tour, grabbing a, 12-passenger van, or ask Ride Connect if they'll, sponsor a bus for us to go tour some of these new areas. Go tour down to Billbois or up to North Bethany, or even what Tiger's done in River Terrace. Like, understanding top to bottom all the pressures that are on housing right now in the metro region, all the pressures that are on cities to perform and put housing in the market from a wide variety, understanding what our state obligations are for requirements for our boundaries, for what our transportation requirements are, understanding all of those as well as our environmental aspects and everything else is really important. But if you only have one piece of it, you can't grasp the whole picture, right? So understanding all of that is really important.
It sounds like there's probably a lot to discuss. Maybe we should, do we need a motion to put something onto the next agenda item, or just staff can put something on
I think what we do is we figure out how to structure this thing first, right?
Right.
So we need to just put it on, I guess, just put it on the agenda to discuss how to do all that.
Do a work session where we talk about, what you're anticipating here, because there's gonna be more open houses and more there's other events coming up that we do all the time. The local wetland inventory is gonna have more open houses, the West Side Trail segment's gonna have more open houses. These are all community events and other things going on.
But maybe we need somebody from Metro because Metro kind of drives our bus to a degree. They do.
Yeah, when it comes to our density provision, Metros, when it comes to our urban growth boundary, that's Metro. When it comes to state mandates for our housing and our projections and our transportation, that's the state of Oregon. So there's a lot of these like complex umbrellas of regulations that we have to abide by, and we're not as free and.
To invite Garrett to an event. He's our Metro rep, right?
Oh, yeah,
I mean, he sat in the last council meeting.
Yeah.
which was nice of him to do, because he didn't really need to, but.
Yeah, and, Mr. Rosenthal is great, Councilor Rosenthal is great on explaining what's going on in Metro and understanding where their policies are landing, transportation, the impact, the JPAC, all those, and explaining what's going on in Metro. There's a lot of good stuff happening in Metro, there's a lot of stuff happening region-wide, King City, Washington County, and Metro. There really is a lot of great growth and a lot of great things there.
I think there's a lot to be gained by sitting down with people, finding out what their heart is like, what their soul is like. I found out a lot when I went to her house. And I can tell you, if that can be entwined facts and figures, then we'll all get a better idea of if we've got a future, we'll be happy.
No, I agree. That's why I brought it up. I brought it up because I hear the emotion and I want to understand it, and I want to be respectful, and I want to find a way so that we can all look at a future that is important to all of us, not just to a couple of people. It's important. It's very important. Anyway, I have made my statement. I've been asking for a framework so that we can make this happen. That's what I'm asking.
Good together. Then we'll try to do a work session or something.
Yes.
Meals together, so.
All right, I guess now we need a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second? All in favor? We are adjourned at 8:09.
Their density, yeah. I think that's more like. That compares. Yeah. We are last day.